or if you've never been here before, welcome. My name's Rachel and I'm the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. For today's video, I have another thrift flip for you, and I am still working to get through the rest of my projects for the 40/40 challenge. And if you're not familiar with that, what it is I'm part of a networking group, and we were all challenged to take $40 and go thrifting, buy as many items as we wanted to with that $40. And then we have 2 weeks to upcycle whatever we need to upcycle out of our purchases. And then we have 40 days to sell as many of those items as we can. And whoever makes the most money wins a little prize. So I've been diligently working on the things that did need to get upcycled. And for today's video, I finished up 3 more of them. So, and plus a little bar stool I've had sitting around here for quite a while that's kind of been in the way, and I figured it was about time I got it done. So I hope you enjoy today's video, and if you do, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and then if you just hit the little notification bell, that will let you know when I upload new content. And then I would also love to hear which of the projects in today's video your favorite is. So remember to comment below and let me know. I appreciate that too. Anyway, let's get on with those projects. Project 1 is this pot that I just picked up on my most recent thrift haul for the 40/40 challenge, and it had a little bit of staining on the inside, so I went ahead and went over the entire pot with a coat of Rust-Oleum's 2X spray paint in white. Once that was done and I had a good base coat down, I began the painting process, and for this I'm using DIY's Bohemian Blue, which is this beautiful dark blue color. And I am just pouncing or stippling on 2 good even coats. And the nice thing about stippling like this is it prevents any paint from getting built up in any of the detail in the pot. Once that was done, it was time to seal the paint, and for this I'm using DIY's white wax, and I'm simply brushing that on and then rubbing back any excess. Now if you rub off too much, or if you just want to add a little bit more, you can build on this wax. You can take it off with a little bit of clear wax if you need to. It's very workable, and I just love how this came out. For project 2, I had also picked up these 2 silver bowls on my last thrift run for the 40/40 challenge, and I decided I wanted to paint them to match a pedestal bowl I did for my last video. So first I went over both of them with a good coat of Rust-Oleum 2X in dark brown. Now I did look these up to make sure they weren't worth any money before I went ahead and painted them, and one was a reproduction and one went for about $10 on eBay, so I wasn't too worried. Anyway, once the spray paint was dry, I went over each one with 2 good even coats of DIY paint. I used Crinoline on the one that was a little bit larger and faded burlap on the one that was just a little bit smaller. Once that was done and the paint was completely dry, I took a damp shop towel and I began distressing them. I just wanted some of that brown to show through so that these would really match that pedestal bowl. So I basically just went around the rim and then rubbed on a couple places just to make them look a little bit more aged. Once that was done, I decided to put a transfer in each of these, and I started with this little bird. This is from the Forest transfer set by ReDesign by Prima, and I just placed him down in the bowl and then rubbed him in using my finger mostly. I did grab the transfer stick at one point just to help out a little, and laid that transfer down. It's a little bit more difficult on a curved surface like that. You just have to work in little sections and make sure everything is stuck down really well as you peel that vellum back. Then I just burnished the bird in with my fingers and moved on to the brown bowl. Now for some reason I ran into issue trying to put the feathers onto the paint directly, and I ended up having to go ahead and seal this bowl with a coat of Big Top and wait for that to cure before I could put the transfers on. Once I got the transfers on the brown bowl, I went ahead and sealed them in with another coat of Big Top, and then I went over the white bowl also with one good even coat of Big Top to seal that paint as well. These bowls are done and I love how they came out. So project 3 is this cute little wooden footstool I also just picked up on my most recent junk run, and it had this knot in the top of it that was a little bit rough, so I went ahead and went over it with 120 grit sandpaper and my palm sander just to kind of smooth it out. Now for this piece, I decided I wanted a crackle finish, and one way to achieve that is to base coat your piece with a coat of spray paint, whatever color you want as your base coat. For this, I chose dark brown by Rust-Oleum, and then to go over the spray paint before it's completely dry with Sweet Pickins milk paint. Now, I did not add any extra bond to the milk paint because I figured if it gave me a little bit of chippiness, that would be fine. And I just went ahead and painted this like I would any other piece. So this is me putting a second coat on the top. And then you can see here, I'm kind of using my heat gun to speed up the process, but it's already beginning to crackle with just that first coat. So I went ahead and went over it with a second coat of the creamy, and then again used my heat gun, and you can kind of see that crackle just start to form. It's kind of a neat process watching it happen. You don't have to use a heat gun. I just wanted to speed it along because it was getting kind of late in the day and I needed to finish up. So that's why I did that. Then I went over the entire piece with some 220 grit sandpaper, did a little distressing around the edges. There was some chippiness, so I sanded off any paint that was flaky, and again, just kind of gave it a good smoothing out. Once I was done with the sanding, I went ahead and cleaned it up with a damp shop towel and just wiped off all the sanding dust. And then I decided to give this a little sunflower. I don't think there's anything that screams summer more than sunflowers. And I just love this set by ReDesign by Prima. It's called Sunflower Fields. So I just cut out a leaf and one of the sunflowers, placed those in the corner, used the transfer stick to settle them down onto the piece, removed that top sheet of vellum, burnished it back in, and then that portion of this project was done. And then it was time to seal my paint. So for this, I decided to go with Sweet Pickins oil wax, just their clear oil wax. So I'm taking my chip brush and painting that on in a just thin layer all over the piece, let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then take my shop towel and wipe off all of the excess. And I absolutely love how this little footstool came out. My fourth and final project isn't one for the 40/40 challenge, but I've had this bar stool sitting around for a long time now and just wanted to get it done and out of the way. So I decided to put it in with the other items that I've been doing. So I started off by giving it a good bath with some crud cutter, and I'm going in here with Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color navy, navy blues, to paint this. And so I did give it 2 good even coats of navy all over the piece to make sure that it was well covered. Once the paint was completely dry, I took some 220 grit sandpaper and just gave this thing a light sand, not to distress it, but just to remove any chunks that were left behind by the milk paint. Then it was on to finishing the top, and for that I'm using this stencil called Script by ReDesign by Prima, and I am just putting in, I'm using DIY's golden ticket and a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree for the stenciling. Once that's done and the golden ticket's nice and dry, I took this transfer from the In the Meadows transfer set and applied that in the corner. This had some blues in it that really went well with the blue of the bench itself. Once that was done and the transfer was nice and laid down, I did burnish it in by using that piece of plastic just to rub it into the paint really well, and then it was time to seal the piece. And for that I'm using clear oil wax again by Sweet Pickins. I love this stuff over the milk paint. So you just basically paint it on with a chip brush, let it set for about 15 minutes, then come back. For this I actually remembered to put my glove on so that it didn't get all over my hands, and wipe off any excess oil wax. And then this piece is all finished. Today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please remember, if you did, to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, again, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel. For Friday's video, it's going to be another thrift flip. I think I have one more item to upcycle from my thrift haul for the 40/40 challenge. So that's going to be in Friday's video, as well as a couple other things as I still continue to try and work through my stash here in the kitchen. I've made a pact with my husband that I am not going to do any thrifting in the month of June, just because I have enough stuff between what I have here in my cottage and what I have at home in the garage to get me by for a while. So I'm going to keep on trying to work through as much of that as I possibly can. Remember also that any of the DIY products or the Sweet Pickins products you saw me use today, they can be purchased from me online through my website at www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com, or of course here in the cottage. So if you need any, please let me know. And again, I hope to see you back here on Friday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and thanks so much for being here. Bye.